before the infamous East Coast versus West Coast rivalry. Before the diss tracks and the tragedies, Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G. were actually close friends. It's a side of the story that often gets lost in the drama, but it's crucial to understanding how everything went so wrong. Let's rewind to 1993 in Los Angeles. This is where they first met. At the time, Tupac was a global superstar. He had platinum albums, hit movies, he was on top of the world. Biggie, on the other hand, was just an incredibly talented, but still relatively unknown, rapper from Brooklyn trying to make a name for himself. They clicked almost instantly. There was a genuine respect and admiration between them. When Biggie came out to California, he would crash at Tupac's house. When Tupac was in New York, he'd hang out with Biggie in his neighborhood, soaking in the Brooklyn culture. There are legendary stories about their time together. One of the most famous is Tupac, the big movie star, in his kitchen cooking up steaks and french fries for Biggie and his whole crew, all while they were laughing, joking, and freestyling together. Biggie really looked up to Tupac. He saw him as a mentor, someone who had achieved the level of success he was striving for. At one point, Biggie even asked Tupac to be his manager. But Tupac, recognizing the potential Biggie had with his current team, gave him some iconic advice. He told him, "Nah, stay with Puff. He will make you a star." It was a moment of pure support to future kings of hip-hop lifting each other up. But that supportive brotherhood was about to be shattered forever. The date was November 30th, 1994. The location, Quad Recording Studios in New York City. This was the night everything changed. Tupac was invited to the studio to record a verse for another rapper. As he walked into the building's lobby, he was ambushed, shot 5 times, and robbed of his jewelry. Miraculously, he survived. Bleeding and wounded, Tupac managed to drag himself into the elevator and head upstairs to the studio. When the elevator doors opened, he saw Biggie, Puffy, and their crew. In Tupac's mind, the look on their faces wasn't shock or concern, it was guilt. He believed they looked surprised that he was still alive. From that moment on, Tupac was convinced that they had either set him up or, at the very least, knew the ambush was going to happen and didn't warn him. Biggie and Puffy have always denied this. They insisted they were just as shocked and horrified as anyone to see their friend in that condition. But it didn't matter. The trust was broken, and the seed of betrayal was planted. While Tupac was serving time in prison for a separate, unrelated case, the situation escalated. Biggie released a song called Who Shot Ya? Biggie's camp claimed the track was recorded months before the Quad Studio incident, but the timing was terrible. For Tupac, sitting in a prison cell and feeling betrayed, it sounded like a direct taunt, a blatant celebration of his shooting. Feeling abandoned and paranoid, Tupac's mindset hardened. This is when Suge Knight, the CEO of Death Row Records, stepped in. Suge already had his own beef with Puffy and Bad Boy Records. He saw an opportunity. He paid Tupac's $1.4 million bail, and in return, Tupac signed a contract with Death Row. The personal beef between two former friends now had corporate backing. It was officially Death Row on the West Coast versus Bad Boy on the East Coast. The war of words exploded into the public domain. The media fanned the flames, and the music became more and more aggressive. At the 1995 Source Awards in New York, Knight got on stage and delivered a now infamous jab at Puffy, inviting artists to come to Death Row if they didn't want their executive producer, all in the videos, all on the records, dancing. Then, in 1996, Tupac released what many consider the most ruthless diss track in history, Hit 'Em Up. He left nothing unsaid. He viciously attacked the entire Bad Boy camp, made threats, and even claimed he had an affair with Biggie's wife, Faith Evans. It was a declaration of all-out war. Biggie's response was more subtle. He rarely mentioned Tupac by name, but dropped subliminal lines in his songs that everyone knew were aimed at his former friend. But this wasn't just about music anymore. The violence spilled from the speakers onto the streets. On September 7, 1996, after a Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas, Tupac was shot in a drive-by. He died 6 days later. He was only 25 years old. The hip-hop world was in shock. 6 months later, in March 1997, Big E traveled to Los Angeles to promote his new album, ironically titled Life After Death. On March 9th, after leaving an industry party, He was killed in a drive-by shooting, in a chillingly similar manner to Tupac's murder. He was just 24. Two of the greatest talents hip-hop has ever known, gone in less than a year. That story is a powerful and tragic reminder of how a deep friendship can be destroyed by miscommunication, pride, and the dangerous pressures of the industry. Thank you for watching.